Good afternoon, everyone. It's the Doug Saravo Show brought to you by Stutz Betting. You are going to love this episode. My good friend and Devil fan Orsten Schoening joins us. So here it is, guys. Enjoy it. Beside us on the phone, we have lifelong Devil fan and and I say former season ticket holder, Orsten Schoening. Orsten, how are you today?
Doing well, Doug. How are you?
Pretty good. Went to the Devils game last night. We took the L. No energy in the building last night, but it's been like that the last few games.
Yeah, it didn't look like there was too many people there either, right?
No, it wasn't really a good crowd. Same thing with the Flyer game, pretty empty.
Yeah, especially with the Flyer game with the New Jerseys. That's probably not a great sign. That rivalry game, New Jerseys for the first time. Not a great sign that no one wants to go there. It looks like they've been hovering around the high 70s to low 80s in attendance, which is not not ideal.
It hasn't been good. And for a team that looked good on paper, they brought in Dougie Hamilton, Thomas Tatar. Tatar really hasn't lived up to what a lot of people thought he would. So, what are your thoughts on Thomas Tatar?
I think that the first 10 to 15 games were definitely a struggle. I think that he did pick it up for a while. He had about 5 goals in maybe in like a 10 game span. It definitely has slowed down now. Um, it's definitely not exactly what we were looking for. I know that a lot of people were a little worried about that, that he does have a tendency to go invisible for a while, which I think we've seen now twice with the first 10 games and now probably the last 10 games. The middle games he was noticeable and he played pretty well. But no, he's just not really fitting in right now. I think the whole team, the slotting of the lines right now, I don't think anyone's really hot besides Brad. That's about it. I don't think anyone else has really been overly impressive recently.
Yeah, from what I've seen at going to these games, they really seem to play sloppy hockey. I mean, last night, 38 seconds left. You want to tie the game up, go into overtime, maybe win it in overtime. And they spent the last 20 seconds or so passing the puck. So does this team have like no clue on what to do, or is it the system in place, or there's just no confidence in scoring goals?
From what I've seen, I think there's two main things. I think there's definitely a lack of confidence with scoring goals. I think that anybody that's been on this team for 5 years or less, I don't think there's any confidence in scoring goals. None of these guys have really. There's been one good season where they were a pretty decent offensive team. Had a really good power play the year that they went to the playoffs in 2018. But every other year, scoring they're always bottom 10 in scoring. The power play usually isn't fantastic. On top of that, I think this is just a team full of playmakers right now. No one wants to shoot the puck, and when you bring in someone like Dougie Hamilton, that is known for his point scoring, especially on the power play, it's like a waste almost with what they done on the power play. That is his main calling card, and I think he's got to take some of the blame for it. But he's had proven success in the power play everywhere he's went, and hopefully that'll turn around here. Um, but back to your original question, I think I think we have a team full of playmakers, and I think that the guys that do shoot are not they're not pure snipers, which is what I think this team is missing. Which is why you hope that someone like an Alex Holtz can, you know, eventually at some point, look like an NHL player this year. I still have confidence that he will be a pure goal scorer down the line. But in the first couple games he played here, it wasn't. It looked like he wasn't ready just yet, which is fine. That's totally fine. But right now, Jesper Bratt is probably your best shooter, which Brad has had a fantastic season, but that's not a recipe for success when Jesper Bratt is probably the best shooter on your team.
Yeah, we have five. I'm looking at the stats right now, and we have five guys with 9 assists or more, and we don't have anyone in the 10 mark for goals. You have two guys with 9, and that's
With
Janssen and
9.
Zaka. So that
Yeah,
really
and
says something.
yeah, Johnson is not really known. He's more of a finesse player. I mean, he's not really known for sniping. I mean, yesterday Jack had a nice feed to him right in the middle. They had a couple. There was a lot of missed opportunities in this game. I don't think they played overly well. I'm not saying that they deserve to have a better result yesterday. But they definitely they had so many missed opportunities in front of that. Sharon Govich had one. I think Sharon Govich actually had two. He had one that was off his skates. It was a little bit tough from a pass from Jack. And the other one, he was right in front, got stopped. Johnson got stopped. That's their problem. And I think it's a big issue with the Hughes situation is that while you don't see him putting up numbers that we probably expect him to put up eventually, is that he just I think I think he personally needs to work on his shot. I think for him to be, he signed that long-term deal, $8 million for 8 years. I think for him to live up to that contract, he's definitely going to have to step up his scoring ability, with his shot. But in the meantime, there's no one really for him to get the puck to that's going to, just beat a goalie one-on-one. It just seems like no one is capable of doing it right now. Yes, I mean, again, Sharon Govich and Johnson both had chances right in front of the net that they weren't able to capitalize on, and this is a game that they lost by 1 goal.
Yeah.
So,
Power play atrocious in my opinion.
it's really bad. This again, I think it's a lack of shooters. They just seem to want to pass the puck constantly over and over and over again. At this point, they should just be shooting the puck whenever they have an open lane.
Yeah.
As soon as when Hamilton has a shot at the top, just start putting it on net, hoping. Tatar's first goal went off his knee. You need to start getting these bounces because they're not pretty goals. The Devils are not going to score pretty power play goals right now. It's just not going to happen. I don't think they have the talent, one, to score those consistently, and two, it's not working. Whatever they're trying. I know last year the excuse was, oh, well, they didn't have a lot of practice time. That's why the power play, was pretty terrible last year too. This year, what's the excuse this year? Well, what it is. You brought in one of the best probably one of the best power play quarterbacks in the league in Dougie Hamilton, and it hasn't necessarily worked out. And you can put some blame on him for sure, but it's also the other player. There's 4 other guys on the ice in the power play, and they're not getting it done right now.
Yeah, and it seems like our PK hasn't really been good at that either, from what I've seen.
The PK was it was very, very bad last year. This year, it started off pretty terrible. It has been okay recently. The thing that's frustrating about the Devils' penalty kill is when you watch other teams power play and you see them just move the puck and guys take shots and beat our goalies. It's just like, well, why can't we do that? The goal scored by Nashville yesterday was just a one-timer. A guy just stepped right into a shot and a screen beats Blackwood. You never see the Devils do anything like that. That's always a pass coming off that. They don't have anyone that wants to shoot the puck. And it's frustrating to see these other teams, and not even on the penalty kill. If you want to just get into the defensive structure, from behind the net, and there was 5 Devils below the dots. 5 of them were below the dots. No one was up top, and he was able to just get a one-on-one shot on Blackwood. And the Devils just overall right now, offense, defense, penalty kill, power play. You need better.
Like, I understand we don't have Ovechkin lining up at the point, waiting to take a slap shot, but why can't they just take the shot? If there's a rebound, get the dirty goal.
Well, they don't seem to want that, and I think a big problem with the Devils not getting dirty goals is that they're just not a team with size. I mean, getting dirty goals, you need someone big in front of the net to be able to whack something home. You want Jack Hughes to do that? That's not going to happen consistently. I think it's overall the structure of the team is something that probably needs to be evaluated. I think they're too small. There's a lot of skill, but it doesn't translate on the ice. I mean, everyone was making fun of what the Rangers did this offseason, acquiring a lot of grit and size and, trading some guys with skill like Buchnevich, but bringing in guys like Goudreau, Reeves, and, they're off to a fantastic start. So maybe you still need a little bit of that. You're not getting enough from the fourth line with McLeod so far this year.
Yeah, we haven't.
He'll bang bodies, and then bringing Bastian back is good. I think something that a lot of people didn't talk about enough is how much this team misses a guy like Miles Wood, a guy that you're probably
yeah, that's true.
Seems likely at this point. I wouldn't expect him back with the injury that he had. We don't have a lot of info on it. I wouldn't expect him to be back. And if he is at some point, it's going to be later on in the season. And I wouldn't expect him to be 100%. Someone that scored a lot of goals for the Devils last year, brings a lot of energy, willing to drop the gloves, willing to bang bodies, and then also was a pretty good net front presence on the power play. Um, it's something that the Devils are missing. It's tough to put your finger on it. What exactly it is that isn't working with this team that is causing them to be, maybe what would you say, maybe slightly better than last year, which I don't think any of us thought would be good enough going into the year, would be slightly better. I know in the previous show, I predicted that they would miss the playoffs, and, I think they would just miss. It doesn't even look like that's going to be a thing right now. It is early enough in the season right now that if they put together a couple wins, they'll be, right back into it. They are in it right now. Putting together a couple wins could actually get them into an 8th seed. But you don't see that right now. You really don't see that.
Yeah, I'm pulling the standings up now.
Yeah, if you look at it, they're not completely out of it. They have some games at hand. Like a team like Detroit has so many more games played than everyone else. I don't think that, they've that's what you actually wanted to see the Devils do this year. Just have their young guys, really step up, which they've had.
Oh,
But
that's disgusting. The Rangers are second in the league.
the Rangers have been really good this year, and I said that in the show. I said, watch out for them. I said they were a sleeper Stanley Cup pick.
Yeah, you did. That was one of your top three.
They yeah, they've been good. They will eventually run into cap situation starting next year. They will have to make some just tough decisions, but for this year at least, when you have top 10 players at each position, I know Zibanejad hasn't been fantastic this year with scoring goals. I still think he's a top 10 center. Panarin obviously is a top 3 winger. Shesterkin was lights out, and then Adam Fox is just won the Norris Trophy, and he's having another great year. When you have players at each position like that, you're going to run into some wins, which the Devils right now don't have. You expect someone like Jack Hughes to be like that. You expect maybe a Dougie Hamilton to be like that, but that's not that hasn't translated just yet. But yeah, the Devils right now are 11th in the conference. They have a couple games at hand on a team like Detroit. They're only 4 points behind Detroit.
Yeah, we are 10, 10, and 5, and we're 4 points out.
Which I think if you would have told me 10, 10, and 5 before the season started, I don't think I would have been super upset about it. After the way that they started, I think everyone is a little bit more sour on the team.
Yeah, because we were like 7-4-2 at one point.
Yeah, we were 7-4-2. I mean, my goal for this year was for the Devils to be a 500 team, including the overtime losses. That would be nice. I would if they hang around and they get to like the mid to high 80s. I don't think it's a complete waste of a season. You're probably going to need. You typically need upper 90s to get into the playoffs. If they can hover around higher 80s and kind of flame out at the end, I don't think it would. I think everyone will be okay with that. I think expectations that this team, that they were going to make the playoffs, I think that was boosted by the fact that they started well, which is exactly what happened last year. You can't 3 weeks. They are still in the thick of it. But this was a tough week. The Devils were supposed to, you have a team in Ottawa that I know they kind of put a couple wins together. You had Ottawa, you had Philly, and then you had a Nashville team that's actually surprising a lot of people. But going 1-1-1 against Ottawa, Philly, and Nashville, only getting 3 of 6 points, not ideal. You probably would have liked to see 4 there. And an Islanders team that really has played poorly all year. You're playing them at home in their new arena where they have not won yet. I don't expect the Devils to win.
Yeah, I don't see that. There's no way.
The Devils, they like to make his bad kind of history like that. So I'm sure that's exactly what will happen. Again, tough, really tough. That this was supposed to be a week that they kind of piled some points together, but the schedule's going to get harder. Getting a 4-game stretch with Ottawa, Philly, the Islanders, who are bottom 4, 5 in the Eastern Conference, you gotta pile up some points.
Hey, we got
And you
Vegas next home game, so that's
there you
gonna.
go, home game, and that's never fun. A team like that. So no, it's not going to get much easier. You're not going to have a you're not going to have too many 4 game stretches like that where you're playing teams that are not only out of it but they're really struggling. Ottawa has not been good at all this year. The Islanders have been brutal this year, and Philly is a complete mess. Now that win against Philly, I mean, it doesn't mean anything now. It doesn't mean anything. I mean, it was a 3-0 win. One was an empty netter. They didn't play particularly well in that game.
No, I was falling asleep.
It was a sloppy game. It was a very sloppy game. They're just a product of playing a Philly team that has been disaster this year. So, are you really going to take much stock in that? A team that hasn't won in 11 games? No, you can't take much stock in it. They didn't play particularly well. The goalie played well. The defense was okay, but still, they're not scoring. They're not scoring.
Yeah, and that's always been a problem for us for some reason.
It's always been a problem, but it was fixed by the fact that you always had a good goaltending and a very stout defensive structure, which the Devils have not had. And now with the news that Bernier looks to have a significant injury, that's killer. That is killer. The Devils' backup goaltender has been cursed for years. Corey never had a legitimate backup besides when Keith Kincaid played out of his mind for 2 months. And Blackwood hasn't had a legitimate backup since he's been the starter. Because Corey was an AHL goalie, borderline AHL goalie by the time he was backing up for Blackwood. You almost had Crawford. Last year, Wedgwood is not an NHL goalie.
No. I mean, you could say Corey had a good backup in Marty in 13-14.
Well, I actually think Marty, I think actually played 2 more games than Corey that year. So I think that was more 1A, 1B. But Marty was not to go back too much, but Marty was not great back then.
No, he wasn't. He was way past his prime.
Way past his prime at that point. But no, that was more like a 1A, 1B. And like I said, I think Marty actually wound up playing 2 more games than Corey that year, something like that, even though Corey was fantastic. So, yeah, the Devils just cannot crack the backup goaltender thing. Now they bring up Akira Schmid, who's been really, really good in the AHL. He's been fantastic in the AHL. I guess we'll see if that translates. I don't think they put out anything about the game tonight. It would be nice if Blackwood doesn't have to play every single game, because Blackwood's been okay. I think Blackwood's been average.
Yeah, he's been all right.
He's been all right. I think it's the thing with Blackwood that I think when you'll be able to see that he's an elite goaltender in this league, it's not necessarily what you'll see on the stats, because I do think that he does play well most nights. Something about Marty was, no matter how many goals Marty gave up, he made the clutch save, which I think is sometimes lacking from Blackwood. For example, the game against Tampa Bay where they were up 1-0. And they come in with 6 seconds left and score a goal, probably one he wanted back anyway. That they need to get timely goaltending, situational goaltending, which I think is something they've lacked for a long time. You need your goaltender to make a save sometimes when in the right spot. 6 seconds left in the period, you can't let a goal in.
Yeah, well, we could go back to Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals. I think there was a play where I don't know the exact play, but Marty made a two-stack pad save.
Yeah, I think that was against Brad Richards. I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, exactly. So, and Marty had given up 2 goals. They gave up the lead, and that was a situational play. They needed that save, and that was a very tough save. And I think that's just something that we haven't necessarily seen out of Blackwood, because he does give up a soft goal here and there, and he does give up a goal that sometimes are just a killer for this team. That's when you'll be able to that is what the elite goaltenders in this league do, is they stop the puck when, even if they have a game where they let up 5 or 6 goals, they stop the puck when their team needs them to, and allows them to then, get the win later on. But I don't want to hammer on him too much. I don't think goaltender's been a big problem, but the backup goaltender situation, I don't think Bernier's been particularly great, which maybe can explain why the injury. Maybe this is why he hasn't been that great. That Winnipeg game was absolutely atrocious.
Yeah, I think now we have because I think he's 4-4 on the year. His GAA is like 2.9 something.
Yeah, that's not good enough. That's not good enough.
No. But I do have the stats in front of me from that season, 13-14. Corey went 16, 15, and 12 in 45 games, and Marty went 19, 14, and 6 in 39 games.
Yeah, that's funny that they had a combined 18 overtime losses.
Yeah, and we could have made the playoffs that year.
Yeah, I think that was when they went 0-13 in the shootout.
Yeah.
Which they're still unbelievable how bad they continue to be in the shootout still to this day. And if you look at the stats from like 2005 when the shootout was started to 2012, they were by far the best. They were like pretty much the best shootout team because Marty was really good at the shootout. And then you had that for a couple of years with Parise, who was fantastic in the shootout, and then Kovalchuk. And they were great. And now they're by far the worst team in terms of winning percentage in the last, almost 10 years now. And those
it's like awful.
It adds up. I mean, I hate the shootout. I hate to get on the team too much for the shootout. It's an extracurricular. It's an all-star game. It's phony. It's fake. But the points do unfortunately add up. And
they do.
14 team, if they win half their shootout games, they're in the playoffs.
And the Rangers might have missed the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, actually, since we're on that topic, how many more wins do you think Marty would have had if we didn't have the shootout and we didn't have ties?
If we didn't have the shootout and ties?
Yeah.
Well, do you mean if we had the shootout earlier, or?
Because I think if we look at his career stats,
he has a bunch of ties, and then you have to remember too that for almost half his career there were ties, and they didn't go to the shootout. So if there was a shootout his entire career where there is a winner, then yeah, you're probably looking. He's definitely over 700.
Yeah, he's got 154 ties.
Yeah, he's got 154 ties. I mean, like, just give him half. I mean, like, that's probably even low because the Devils, when there were ties, the Devils were a great team. So, of 150 ties, like, let's just say he wins like 80 of them. I mean, you're almost pushing towards 800 wins at that point. So,
yeah, that's true because he's finished with 691, but I think with the Devils it was 688.
So he also had some lockout seasons too.
Yeah, there was 12-13.
Yeah, 12-13 was a lockout. Then also the year after the Stanley Cup in '95 was also the year '95 when they won, that was a lockout shortened season. And then in 2009 he had the injury that he was out for 3.5 months, and they were really good that year. They had 50+ wins that year.
Yeah, and 04-05 they missed out.
Yes, and 405 he completely missed out. So yeah, no, Marty Brodeur, if you take away if you give him tie, if the tie was not a thing and he didn't have 04-05 wiped out, you're looking at 800 wins.
The GOAT.
Yeah, you're looking at. Well, I don't think anybody's ever going to touch that number anyway. Because you look at a guy like Fleury. I mean, I know that he was kind of for a little bit. He just got to 500, and he's always had the shootout. I think maybe except his first year.
Yeah, 05-06, I think.
Yeah, 05. Well, 05-06. I know.
Or he came in 03, maybe. I'm not sure exactly.
It started 05-06, but I think he played in 03 when he was drafted. So yeah, he would have, So and same thing with Lundqvist. Lundqvist's entire career had the tiebreaker with the shootout. But goalies nowadays, they don't play that much.
Yeah, so they don't.
It's tough to get to that number with the wear and tear on the players now. They don't. I mean, Marty's played 78 games one year. In 05-06, played 78 games.
No one does that no more.
No one does that. No one does. I don't think anyone can do that, to be honest. No one back then could do that besides him.
Yeah. So let's get to Nico. He's the captain. He has 3 goals, 13 assists, 16 points in 25 games. Is it more important for him to be a playmaker, or do we have to see him getting some goals? Because right now he has three, and from my point of view, that doesn't look good for a captain. Yeah, he looks good. He had a fight last night. He steps up for the team, makes these great passes, but for a team that doesn't score, that's a problem.
It's I think even if you view him as a playmaker for his career, um, he needs more than 3 goals for the caliber player that he is. I think he's like most of the team. They don't shoot the damn puck enough. He needs to do that too, and he's got a pretty good shot. So he definitely needs to let loose a little bit more on some shots. Um, I know a lot of people were kind of ragging on him. I think he's been pretty good this year. Actually, I think you definitely want to see more goals. He also has quite a few posts too. Um, the team as a whole has quite a few posts and crossbars. But no, Nico, you definitely need to see more goal scoring out of him. I think if he kind of stays the course and keeps playing the way that he has, but adds a couple more goals here and there, I think he'd be happy with this season. I think he's on pace for like a low to mid 50s point. I know in the previous episode I said that I wanted no less than 60. Knowing just the way that the team has went this year, I think getting into the mid 50s would actually be pretty good for him. Um, he scored 20 goals his first year as a rookie. He did get to the 20 goal mark, so he's capable of it, and he's only gotten better from his first year. I know he's not playing with Taylor Hall scoring goals left and right, but no, I think Nico's been better than a lot of people think. I think that we definitely need more goals than him. But like I said, I think if he continues to play how he has this year, but does find the back of the net a little bit more, I think you'd overall be happy with his season. But no, he definitely needs to go more goals. And the fight was nice yesterday. The fight was good. That's definitely something you want to see your captain do. Unfortunately, they weren't able to. It almost sucked that it was with 50 seconds left in the period because it kind of like the energy from it just kind of went away when the intermission came.
Yeah, it did. All right, so let's
But
look at Jesper Bratt. 7 goals, 16 assists, 23 points. His career high in goals is 16. Career high in assists is 25. Career high in points is 35. How important is it for him to be that player that he was in 17-18? Because when the Devils made the playoffs, this guy was a key factor.
he was a key factor, but if you remember, he was really good in the beginning and he totally flamed out in the second half of the year as a rookie, as a 6th-round pick rookie. He needs to keep this up for the entire year. If he slows down, the Devils are going to be in a really, really bad spot. He's on pace for 75 points right now, which I always thought that he was capable of being a 60-point player. I thought he had the skill to do it. This is also a guy that's a restricted free agent, so he's going to have to get paid, some money at the end of this season. So, he has to keep this up. One, he has to keep this up for the team because they're not getting enough scoring from other places. And two, he stands to make a good amount of money if he keeps this up. But yeah, no, he looks like he's on a 75-point pace, and this is also completely 5-on-5. There's no power play production, so he's putting up a 70-point pace with no power play production, which is insane because the team just doesn't get points on the power play. So let me take a look. He has 3 power play points. So he has 20 5-on-5 points in 25 games played. That's pretty good. You'll take that. I think that his resurgence, especially after the first couple games where he was really bad. The first couple games he got sat, and he's been phenomenal since. Since he got sat, he's actually been over a point per game since he got sat. So he's been really, really good. You want to, but it's only been the one line. That's been the problem. Whatever line he's on has been going, and I think Jack was his best game yesterday for Hughes. I thought the way that he was moving the puck and getting passes through. I just don't think that the Devils have a player that is worth putting with someone like that. It's like putting a couple Honda Accords with a Ferrari. It doesn't work.
All right, let's get to Pavel Zacha. The guy has 9 goals, 5 assists, and 14 points. Team leader in goals. How important is it for him to have a great year? He's in his 6th year. He's only 24 years old, but
We've
for,
seen it before.
for where he went in the draft,
Yeah. Yeah, you have to throw where he went in the draft out the window. There's, we know the names that went after him that would have considerably improved this team, but we can't do anything about it now, especially 6 years later. He's been good. I mean, 9 goals to be tied for the team lead. I mean, the team as a whole is what is that on pace for? Like maybe like a high 20s, low 30s, which I mean,
something like that.
something like that. That would be a good season for him. I think we'd all sign up for it. He needs to continue it though, because besides last year, we've seen him go on hot stretches and then just completely fizzle out and be invisible. He hasn't been on the score sheet too often in recent games. He went a while without a goal, I believe. If I'm looking at the stats right here, he had the goal yesterday, and then before that, he went
Like 6 or 7 games without a point or a
6 or
goal.
7 without a goal. Which for him, him and Brad are probably the best shooters on this team. Which at some point you might need to reevaluate the lines. You might need to split them up because those are the two guys that actually will shoot the puck and show willingness to shoot the puck. Because let's see. And yeah, like last night he had 7 shots on net. Then he had 1 shot, 1 shot, 1 shot, 1 shot, 4, 1, 0, 3. He's got to be shooting the puck on net consistently every game. He's always got to be shooting the puck. But you're right. He had an assist in between there, but he did go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games between a goal. And then he now has 1, 2, 3, 4. Like he's got like three goals in his last 12, 13, 14 games, which you probably need him to step up a little bit. I mean, this is a guy that's also playing for a contract as an RFA. The Devils eventually are going to have to start making decisions on these guys because, if he has a decent year, do you want to give Pavel Zacha like a 3-year, $5 million contract? I don't think so.
I wouldn't.
But we're getting to that point. We are getting to that point that they're going to have to make some decisions. I mean, if Brad keeps up the year that he's playing, you probably, hopefully, being that he's an RFA, you can get him at a lower AAV. But they're going to have to start making some decisions because the way that the team is currently just constructed, they do not score enough goals. There are guys in this team that are eventually going to have to get paid. You got Jack now. You have Dougie, obviously. You have Heischer. The Subban contract kind of washes out Hughes, which is huge. But this team doesn't score enough goals. You need to bring it. You need to bring somebody that's even a better goal scorer than Pavel Zacha. That's something that they're missing. So you need to kind of keep an eye on the cap situation. Eventually, Blackwood's going to have to get paid more as well. You have some prospects coming up. You have Alex Holtz. Luke Hughes is going to be a thing eventually. You need to kind of forecast down the line to see, who's a part of this team. Pavel Zacha has been a part of this team for a long time, and he's known nothing but losing except for 1 year.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a lot of guys in this team. I think that's the biggest problem with the Devils. They have a loser mentality. All of them have been a part of losing teams every single year they've been here, except for 1 year. Losing. And this is not even just losing. This is top 5 draft pick losing. Lottery team losing. Not even sniffing the playoffs losing.
That is very true. And if you look at guys like Bratt, you look at guys like Nico, their rookie years was a playoff year, and ever since then,
nothing. 4 years now. This is their 4th year after that. So they had 3 pretty abysmal seasons because one of them they were the first overall draft pick. Last year they started off well. That just tells you how bad the Devils were after the winning streak last year. They started off well, and then once their COVID pause hit, they were terrible. They went from being a playoff team to picking 4th overall in the draft. They were the 3rd worst team because I don't think anyone moved. I think only 2 teams flipped, and Seattle had the 2nd pick. So they were the second pick. They were terrible in the second half. They were a bottom 3 team. Again, this happens too much with them. And a lot of these guys on the team are a part of that. Damon Severson has been a part of that. Pavel Zacha, Jesper Bratt, Nico Heischer. These guys have been a part of a losing culture for years, and it needs to turn around. And that's why we said maybe this necessarily doesn't have to be a playoff team, but you need to see improvement. You need to see them win games. Now, in the beginning of the year, you would see them, come back, and they had a couple comeback wins. You had a couple games where they were getting shelled, and then they would come back, maybe only lose by a goal or two. You're starting to not see that now. They're just losing. I mean, the other day against Winnipeg, they're down 3-0. They take the lead 4-3, and then they lose 8-4. Like, who cares? What does that do for you? Doesn't do much.
You think? Go ahead, I'll let you finish, and I'll say what I gotta say.
There needs to be a winning culture instituted, and the current coaching staff. I am done with Recchi. Recchi, for how much does an assistant coach do? I don't know. I don't think it's much. I mean, if you bring somebody else in here, are they going to completely change the power play? Probably not. I don't think it's going to improve that much. You think that you have guys that should field a decent NHL power play, but it's not happened. I don't think it'd be good for a young team to get rid of a coach like Ruff, in the middle of the year. I think they're going to stick it out with him. I do hope that the Devils they need a winning culture. They do need a winning culture, and I hope that the current head coach is able to do it. I never thought that Coach Ruff was going to be here when the Devils were consistently making the playoffs. I thought he was a transitional coach, which, I think that's why they viewed it, because they apparently they didn't bring in Laviolette after he asked for a certain amount of money. They decided to go with Ruff. So I think ownership kind of thought that too, that this is more of a transitional period. That's
the same thing could be said with Gallant. I think we offered him, but he went to the Rangers, unfortunately.
Oh, Gallant, I think he wound up not wanting the job. That, he didn't want the job, and then he goes to the Rangers this year, obviously. But when that was what the rumor was, is that they offered it to Lindy after Laviolette kind of priced himself out. I don't know if it was because he thought he was worth it, or he said, well, I'm coming to New Jersey on a team that doesn't look so hot, so I'm going to need a pretty significant amount of money. And then apparently Gallant just wasn't interested in the job, which, okay, whatever, that's fine. But, a lot of the Rangers fans were laughing when we hired Lindy Ruff because they thought he was terrible when he ran the defensive system for the Rangers. So, I mean, I like Lindy. I do like Lindy. I think that he does have a presence in that locker room. At least you think so. A well-respected coach that top 10 in wins in his career?
Yeah, he's around there. He's been there since, I think, late 90s maybe.
Yeah, it's not clicking right now. And I think that the fans are starting to get a little ticked off because you kind of see some of the wishy-washy answers, not a lot of accountability being taken. But if the Devils are close to being a playoff team, if they turn it around here, I do think that they probably, continue on with him. I think regardless, I think that you kind of need to go in a different direction with the assistant coaches with the power play and the defense. I think Nasreddine has been here through a lot of shit years. It's been a lot of terrible years he's been here.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he contributes to that losing culture. So I'm ready to just axe that. And then Recchi, the power play has been awful for 2 years. I think we can move in a different direction that way too. But Ruff, we'll see. We'll see. I don't think any Devils fans should be hoping for a mid-year exit, because I don't think it's going to happen.
You think the owners are to blame? You think there's like a winning mindset with them? Because I think there was a report that we were voted the worst fan experience in the NHL. So you think and they bought this team in, I believe it was 12-13 or 13-14, and we've had one playoff season. So ever since the new owners bought this team, nothing but losing.
That is true, but they just gave Jack Hughes 8x8, and they gave Dougie Hamilton 7x9.5. So they're giving out money. I mean, in terms of the worst fan experience, it's very. I think it kind of just varies on. I think a lot. I did see that report. It looked like a lot of it was based on the prices. I think that the Prudential Center is very, very expensive, and the prices of tickets are also very expensive. Part of the reason why I did not renew season tickets is that they expect you. Like, to me, my season tickets should have been lowered after the year that they had. They had a terrible year. When I had the last of my season tickets, when they traded Hall, and the only reason why they were stayed was because of the pandemic. They were definitely going to raise the prices if COVID wasn't a thing. There has been absolutely no reason for this hockey team to up their prices on tickets for season tickets and box office price over the last couple of years. I think it's an embarrassment to ask for that because this team's not, I've only been to one game this year. I have money sitting in my account. I've only been to one game. I have no interest in going. I will make it probably over, around the Christmas time, and then maybe I'll get to a Devils Rangers game later on. But, I really haven't had the want to go.
Yeah, I think they raised mine $200.
Terrible. The energy was terrible the last couple games. It seems like it's an empty house. People aren't showing up. You had season tickets the year after they went to the playoffs. The year after they went to the finals, they pretty much sold out every game until they were out of it.
Yeah, that was every game. The atmosphere was great. I think we had like 16 straight sellouts.
They had 16 straight sellouts in a lockout shortened season. After they made the final, the fans will show up. This is a New York area sports team. They're New York area sports fans are very intelligent, and they voice their opinion with their wallets. The Devils have not been a good team for 10 years. The New Jersey Devils fan, mind you, we're fighting against a team in the Flyers that have been around since the late 60s. The Islanders won 4 cups in the 80s. The Rangers have been around for a million years. There's a lot of competition here. North Jersey is Rangers fans. South Jersey is mostly Flyers fans. There's a lot of competition, and the Devils are still a relatively newer franchise at almost 40 years. So, there's a lot of, people like us need to, raise the next generation of Devils fans. It's just not clicking right now. And with 10 years of not being a great team, I mean, where are you getting those extra fans that aren't being brought over because their parents were Devils fans or their friends are Devils fans?
Some of them become Ranger fans. Some of them are Flyer fans.
Yeah.
Some are Capital fans.
They are just fans of the teams that aren't even necessarily in their area. They like a player. They like a player like Patrick Kane, and they root for the Blackhawks. They like someone like Connor McDavid. They root for the Oilers. Which is something that I think Jack Hughes has that personality and the skill level that maybe he could bring some people over like that. But no, I mean the Devils. There's no energy in the building. It's dead. The first game, usually it's the home opener, and then a game against the Rangers that there's energy in the building. I mean the Flyers are your second biggest rival, and no one even cared. It was dead.
No, it was dead.
It was dead, completely dead. And I think a contribution to that too was that usually when the Flyers play the Devils, there usually is a good handful of Flyers fans that show up.
Well, the Sunday night game was good. It was the Wednesday night game that was boring, snooze fest.
Yeah, and they revealed for the first time in franchise history an alternate jersey, and no one came. It's brutal.
How do you feel about that jersey? The jersey.
It's not my favorite. It's definitely not my favorite. It's not what I would have personally liked to see. I think it looked a lot better on the ice when they were playing. I think it looked good, the black and the white. I think they definitely could have added some more red. I think on the TV, and I don't know how it looks from the stands, you can't really see the red. The red indents are on the letters on the back, the numbers and the letters. So you don't really pick that up on TV. And then the logo, the jersey logo, I think has a little bit like a splash of red in it.
I mean, in person, I like them. They look good, but I would have preferred to see the actual Jersey Devil logo on there and not the word Jersey.
What their Twitter profile picture is right now, just the white logo. That was actually kind of cool. That would have probably looked nice on the jersey.
Yeah, like you can't get rid of that logo.
No, I mean I get what they want to do, and we've been begging for a black alternate for years. I mean, whatever. I'm much more concerned with the product on the ice, and they could wear the most one of those European neon colored jerseys with all the advertisements on it. I don't care if they're winning. I don't care. But they're not winning, so everyone's very nitpicky right now because they're not a good team. They haven't been a good team in a long time, so everyone's pissed off just about everything in general. So they're going to be nitpicky. If the Devils were a winning team, you would not have seen as many, the blowback that we did see.
Yeah, that's true. So I'm looking at a few free agents for next season. We got Johnny Gaudreau. We got Mark Giordano. We got you can throw in Flurry. You got Subban, but he's out the door. If this Devils organization, this Devils team, this Devils franchise wants to take that next step, who do they have to bring in?
They need to bring in somebody that is a consistent, proven 25, 30 goal scorer. Consistent, proven. They can't be taking these flyers anymore. Tatar, I think, was more of a flyer because he hasn't really been consistent the last couple of years. I don't even know if it's going to be done through free agency. It might have to be done through trade. They need, and it might be a trade that hurts. You might have to give up a prospect. You might have to give up a player that you don't want to give up. Maybe you have to give. To be honest with you, if the Devils are in the tens, I would consider trading the first round pick. They've had enough picks in the top 10. Enough.
Yeah, every year.
You thought you looks like you hit on Mercer. Hopefully you hit on Holtz. Hopefully you hit on Hughes. Luka Madulin looks like he's picked it up in the KHL. You have a lot of prospects. You have a whole lot of prospects. The Devils have been a whole bunch of picking in the last couple of years. You bring in a guy like Dougie Hamilton that's still at a relatively younger age. I think he's like 28. This is enough with the picks. We can't wait 3 or 4 years for these guys to maybe turn into something. They need to get something proven and consistent, especially for Jack Hughes. He needs a sniper on his line. Hopefully it's going to be Holtz. Hopefully it will be Holtz, but you probably need to have a backup plan or contingency plan that if he's not exactly what we anticipated, that you're not gonna waste the prime of Jack Hughes' career. Who exactly to bring in? I think it's a little bit early to tell. They definitely need to bring in somebody that scores goals consistently. They need that. They need They need an elite level winger, which is not really. They don't really have that. In terms of the names that you said, I've literally less than zero interest in Johnny Gaudreau. I think we have enough guys that are talented and skilled that are 5'8" and get knocked around easily. That's not what we need.
Yeah, we don't want that. It's very
bad. There's enough guys in the team to get ragdolled. They need size. Ideally, someone that is a little bit, probably over 6 foot, like an over 6 foot winger that has the ability to score. I mean, I'm not too familiar with the free agents because I've been more focused on this year. Which we might have to start moving to trade targets and free agency if the season keeps going like it is. But that's ideally what you want. You want a heavier winger that doesn't get thrown around and can consistently score goals, because right now you have Jack Hughes playing with Andreas Johnson, who I think he's cooked. I don't think we're going to see much production out of him going forward. It hasn't looked great the last couple games. And then Sharon Govich, I think, in a COVID-shortened season, looked really good. And I think that you probably could throw that out the window, too, because he's looked pretty terrible.
Yeah, he has. I mean, he had a goal yesterday, but...
He had a goal yesterday, but you also think about how many chances he had that he did not finish that probably could have tied the game or maybe even won them the game. Jack Hughes needs somebody that's going to finish. They're going to finish and put it in the back of the net. We don't have that on the team right now. Hopefully it's Holtz. We don't know, though.
Yeah, and if you look at his career for Sharon Govich, 20 goals, 19 assists, 39 points in 76 games. That's decent for a full NHL season.
Decent. Yeah, it's decent. That's not enough to warrant top 6 minutes. Not even close.
Yeah,
that's third line. Borderline third line.
He's another one.
And Quoken have been complete disappointments this year. I think that it shows you that anyone that performed well or poorly in the COVID-shortened season, you can completely throw out because they've both been terrible. I think Quoken specifically has looked like someone that belongs in the AHL, and Sharon Govich is not much above him.
Yeah, I have Quoken's stats up here now.
They banked on these guys to be productive, and it's not happening. And now you're in a situation where Jack Hughes has no one to play with. To me, I think it's time to move Dawson Mercer off center. I would like him to play with Hughes. He's been good. Dawson Mercer has cooled off pretty considerably over the last couple games. He did have a goal the other night. I think that his jam would go well with Hughes, and he has skill too. Just get the best players in the team in the top 6. Dawson Mercer centering Tatar and who was on his wing last night? Tatar and was it Kuokkanen
I
or
think
VC?
so.
Yeah, maybe it was. I think maybe it was either VC or Kuokkanen. No, that doesn't do it for me. Tatar has been brutal this year.
Yeah, because I'm
So
looking at Kuokkanen stats from last year in 50 games. 8 goals, 17 assists, 25 points. And he has 5 points in 24 games. Embarrassing.
okay, 5 points in 24 games. That probably equates to just under 20 points on the year. And he had how many last year? How many points did he have last year?
25 and 50.
He had 25 and 50. So that's on pace for about a mid 40, like a low 40 point season. Right now he's on pace for a less than 20 point season. That's half. You're getting half the production from him, which I would argue, eye test wise, with throwing the numbers out, you're probably getting a quarter of the production because he's been so bad. It hasn't been good. It really hasn't been good. I think I think the Devils have the main problems. I think for the Devils right now is the power play loses them games because they lose by a goal or two and they have 4 or 5 opportunities to never score. And the bottom 6 production has been awful. McLeod just got gifted a goal by Hughes the other day, his first. Bastian's been okay since coming back. VC's been okay, but he hasn't done much. Kuokkanen's been terrible. Tatar hasn't been what we expected. It hasn't been good enough all around. All around. Besides Bratt, Heischer, Hughes obviously hasn't played enough. I think you could throw him in there. I'll even throw Zaka in there because he's been, okay. Johnson's been good. Mercer's been good. But, it hasn't been good enough all around. Even the top 6 is contributing, but I don't think they're contributing quite enough. The bottom 6, they're not getting anything out of. Not a single thing. And then the power play's been brutal.
Our power play is 13.24%, and it looks like we've given up 16 power play goals against. Yeah.
Yeah, so they lose special teams every night. You're not going to win many games when you lose special teams every night.
I really don't get it. All right, so before we conclude, because I know you got a movie to get to, let's get to the 2022 Stanley Cup winner. I'm looking at the odds right now. You got Colorado at plus 600, Florida at plus 800, Toronto at plus 900, Tampa Bay Lightning plus 900, Vegas is at plus 1,000, Carolina's plus 1,400, Washington 1,500, Edmonton 1,600, and Minnesota Wild at 1,600. Those are Caesar's favorites, but what is Austin Schoening's favorite to win the Stanley Cup, based on what we've seen so far?
The previous episode, I had the Islanders playing the Vegas Golden Knights if they trade for Jack Eichel, which I actually, just little props to me, kind of predicted that.
Yeah, you kind of did.
And then also the Avalanche if they didn't trade for Jack Eichel. So I'll stick with Vegas because Jack Eichel's already skating. I think he's going to be back at some point. You have Robin Lehner, you have a guy like Pietrangelo, and then you're going to have Jack Eichel, Mark Stone, like that, and that's ridiculous. That is a stacked team. I think you will see them pick it up. I think they'll get Jack Eichel in time to kind of pick it up before the postseason. In terms of the East is tough. Florida's been really, really good, and they're a really well put together team, but you've seen them not get it done before. So, I'm going to stick with Vegas as my favorite right now. I think that Jack Eichel is going to be huge for them. I think that he's played on such a terrible Buffalo team for years, and he missed a lot of last year and he missed all of this year. I think people forgot how good he is. So I will stick with Vegas being the favorite. In terms of who they'll play, I don't know.
It looks like Florida is plus 25, Toronto is plus 475, same thing with Tampa, and then Carolina plus 700.
Can't pick Toronto until I actually see them do it. I think it's unwise to pick them until you actually see them do something because they never do. Florida's really good. Would I be surprised? No, I wouldn't be surprised at all. But they're another team that you kind of need to see them do it. Never could throw out Tampa Bay. Washington has been Washington's been much better than I thought. I thought either them or Pittsburgh would tail off. It looks like if there is going to be a tail off, it'll be Pittsburgh. But even they look like it's not going to happen just yet because Tristan Jarry's been a Vezina candidate. Yeah, I mean, I guess my favorite in the East probably is Florida right now. It's probably Florida.
Yeah, I think they're the best bet.
I think they're the best bet is Florida. I do think that Vegas is my pick, though, to win the Stanley Cup right now. But Florida, in the East, Florida would be my team to get into the finals.
So
unfortunately, been really good, too. But I'm not picking them. Absolutely not.
So I'm looking at our odds to win the East. We're plus 5,000. And then to win the Stanley Cup, we are, let's see, plus 10,000.
Yeah. So if you want to throw money down the toilet, go ahead. But no, I wouldn't take any of those. I wouldn't even take them to make the playoffs, let alone win the East. I wouldn't even take them to make the playoffs.
I wouldn't either. But you could make a lot of money if it happened.
Yeah, but it's not going to. You can make a lot of money on a lot of things. It's not happening. You can make a lot of money if you can make a whole bunch of money if you want Arizona to make the playoffs. Are they going to make the playoffs at 5-19-2?
No, they're done.
No, they're done. And the Devils are probably just about there as well. So that's that.
Damn, did this meet your expectations for the quarter mark, or are you more of a disappointed?
I think it's slightly below my expectations. I think that it's been soured a lot by the last couple games. I think they started off hot. They got a little mediocre, and now they've been pretty bad. I don't think it's been quite as bad as people have made it at the quarter mark. You definitely want to see better. I think it's been a slight improvement over last year, which definitely is not what we were looking for. Right now, I would say slightly, very slightly below my expectations. I didn't expect this to be a playoff team. I didn't expect them to, run roughshod over the lead. Yeah, I think it's a little bit slightly below average. I would have liked to see a little bit more improvement. I would have definitely liked to see a little bit more goal scoring, and I absolutely would have liked to see the power play improve more than it has because it's been terrible. In terms of the next, I know we're going to do another one at the halfway point. In terms of what I want to see going into that, I want to see the top six click a little bit more. I want to see some scoring from the bottom six, and the power play has to improve because it can't possibly be any worse.
Quick prediction: will there be anyone on this team right now that won't be on the team at the half point? Could be VZ, could be Tatar.
What do you mean, like trade or sent down?
Yeah, traded, sent down, maybe on waivers.
I think it's possible Kuokkanen gets waived. I do. I think that's possible. VC, I think, has been okay. I think he's fit the bottom six pretty well. McLeod and Bastion aren't going anywhere. I don't think the Devils are going to be making I don't think the Devils are going to make a significant in-season trade. I think it's possible Kuokkanen gets sent down. Maybe it's possible that they bring up somebody from Utica to play in the bottom six because Utica's been on fire and, they're doing something right down there. But, it's not translating. Our bottom six could maybe use an infusion of some guys from down there. But I don't know. No, I think the most likely person to not be here at the halfway point would be Yannick Kuokkanen via waivers. And I don't necessarily think we'll get picked up either. I think he might probably go AHL.
Yeah, that's true. We shall find out. Plenty of hockey left, but...
Plenty of hockey left. The Devils are not that far out of it. They can definitely change all our minds in the season. I think that Devils fans should not have the expectation that this is going to be a playoff team. I think if you keep your expectations in line, I think we could see some improvement. We could see some people happy with the way that the season progresses. If you think they're going to be top three in division, if you think they're going to be pushing for a playoff spot, I think you're going to be disappointed. I think that if you have it in check that maybe there's a team that's a bubble team, that I think is a reasonable expectation. Anything above that, I think your head's in the clouds.
Well, I know our heads aren't in the clouds because I don't think we're going to go far.
No, we're not going to go far. We've been beaten down for many years now. Me and you, given our age, missed out on the golden years of Devils hockey. So we've been, beaten down for many years now, whether it be heartbreaking playoff losses when we were younger, or the last 10 years when we were adults, just not ever performing well.
That's why I still live in 2012.
Yeah, well, that's one way to cope. My way to cope is just to try not to care as much.
All right, thanks, Orson. It's been a pleasure. Hopefully this team wakes up, and hopefully they play winning hockey.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see a team that is a bubble team for the playoffs at the halfway point. Hopefully we see some guys step up. Thanks for having me on.
All right, anytime, Orson. Speak to you soon.
Okay, see you.
Bye. That was Austin Schoening. We just discussed the New Jersey Devils quarter mark. We are currently 10-5 after 25 games. Lots of hockey remaining, but still, this Devils team needs to step up if they want to go anywhere this season. We play the New York Islanders tonight at 7:35 p.m. at the new UBS Arena. The Islanders are currently 0-5-2 on home ice, so will we give the Islanders their first win? But as always, the Doug Saravo Show is brought to you by Stutz Betting. Bet like Michael Lepore. And as always, for the remainder of Season 5, we will finish this episode with the tribute to Michael Lepore. I just got to read this first. Thank you for supporting the Doug Saravo Show, Saravo Broadcasting, and all those involved with Saravo Broadcasting. We appreciate you guys. So what is this, Mikey?
Can you see it? Put it up to...
Lift it up by the camera.
Can everybody see it?
Wait, move it back. Oh, number 38, Lepore. That's you.
I was in the locker room with that, in the room, with 3 Hall of Famers.
No, that's customized. That's all.
Oh, I know. And listen... All right, I'm going to give people... No, that's for the pen.
Oh, yeah, that's for the pen.
No, they got to be more for the Rays are
16-1.
16-1. That's not bad.
Mike, what do you think about your Chargers this past season?
They stay. I'm sorry.
All right, thank you, Mike.
So what do you think of the city today?
It's nice, but a little nicer if the weather was nice. No, I like that fact that it only cost me 12 hours. 12 bucks.
This is great. Now you're going to make us some food.
No.
Yeah, there's stuff in your fridge. Should have brought the pie. Next time I'll go. I'll get it. Yeah, this is a great show. But yeah, you do have some leftovers in your fridge. I think it's time for dinner for you and I. Some in the fridge. Should we get the camera? All right, Mike. Any final thoughts for the audience? Myself.
It's been very entertaining. Hopefully, my picks come through and people can make a little money, stuff like that. Have a one. Enjoy your football season. And go bolt up, everybody.
There he is, everyone. That was Michael Lepore, otherwise known as the Bolt. No more Stutz. The Bolt. That's his name. What a show, Mike. Thank you for coming on.
Don't listen to these picks. You lose all your money. Trust me. Jaguars, if they win the division, I'll stop watching football.
I just want to try on this jersey you got me. You know, what can I say? I'm a Giant fan, but...
Bolt up? Huh? Bolt up?
Hold up. Man of many nicknames. We got... All right, you don't want to be called Stutz.
What about produce? I know produce. We're gonna go to a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. I love you, Mikey.
There you go. He's officially a Charger fan. If the Chargers win, I get lifetime pizza in his pizzeria. The Chargers won, so I love his pie. Thank you. It's been a pleasure talking to everyone.